Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Shimna Study Corner. Today we are going to deal with the poem titled Amanda by Robin Klein in your first flight textbook. Robin McMahon is an Australian author of books for children. Several of her books have been shortlisted for the CBCA Children's Book of the Year Award, including Hating Alison Ashley. Klein's novel Came Back to Show You I Could Fly won a Human Rights Award for Literature in 1989 and also won the 1990 CBCA Children's Book of the Year Award Older Readers. It was filmed as Say a Little Prayer in 1993. This poem, titled Amanda, depicts the state of a girl's mind who is constantly instructed about do's and don'ts by her elders. Children feel their parents don't let them do many things they want to do. The girl is in a dream world and does not listen to her mother. The constant nagging has made the girl so sad that she has even stopped imagining herself as she is. She has started imagining herself as someone else. Basically, all of you at a point of time may feel that you are nagged by your parents. This poem is also about one such girl. Her name is Amanda. If you notice carefully, you would see that the alternate stanzas are put in brackets. Why are those stanzas put in brackets? The stanzas in the bracket is actually the girl's imagination. The other one, which is not in brackets, are actually the reality. Now, what is a girl's imagination and what is there in the reality? This is what we are going to discuss in detail. Let's see the first stanza. Don't bite your nails, Amanda. Don't hunch your shoulders, Amanda. Stop that slouching and sit up straight, Amanda. So, this is what we see in the first stanza. What do you see in the first stanza? You see a list of don'ts. Don't do that. Don't do this. The speaker would be most probably her mother and the listener is this girl named Amanda. What is a mother asking her not to do? Don't bite your nails. Don't hunch your shoulders. What is the meaning of hunch your shoulders? It means to bend your shoulders. Her mother is asking her to sit straight without hunching her shoulders. Stop that slouching and sit up straight, Amanda. So what is the meaning of the word slouch? To slouch means to sit in a very relaxed manner without paying attention to anything. You get a list of 3 don'ts right in the beginning of the poem. Don't bite your nail, don't hunch your shoulders, and don't slouch, sit up straight. And what do we see in the next stanza? There is a languid emerald sea where the sole inhabitant is me, a mermaid drifting blissfully. So, what is a girl doing over here? On one side, her mother is scolding her for not doing things properly, and on the other hand, what is she doing? She is in her own dream world. She is dreaming about something else. She is not at all paying any attention to her mother. She is dreaming. And what is she dreaming? She is dreaming that she is in a languid emerald sea. What is the meaning of the word languid? Languid means relaxing. Okay, she is in a languid emerald sea. Why does she refer to the sea as emerald? Because she imagines the sea to be green in color. And she says that the sole inhabitant of that relaxing green sea is she herself. Sole inhabitant here means the only inhabitant. So she dreams herself to be a mermaid who is the only inhabitant in that relaxing green sea. Remember, she is dreaming about all these things when her mother is scolding her. Okay, so and what is this mermaid doing in the ocean? She is drifting blissfully. To drift blissfully. Drift means to float. Blissfully means happily. So this mermaid is drifting blissfully in that relaxing green sea. So from these 2 stanzas, it's very clear that this girl wishes to be alone. She wants to be lonely, away from all the scolding, all the nagging, all those rules which she has got to follow. She wishes to live a life completely aloof from all these things. Now, let's see the next stanza. Did you finish your homework, Amanda? Did you tidy your room, Amanda? I thought I told you to clean your shoes, Amanda. So again, in the third stanza, we see her mother's instructions. This time, what are the complaints that her mother has got? Amanda has not finished her homework. Amanda has not tidied her room. So she is scolding Amanda for all these things. And then she also says, I thought I told you to clean your shoes, Amanda. She says that this girl had not cleaned her shoes even after being instructed to do so. So, again, over here in the third stanza, we come back to the reality from her dream world. There, her mother is scolding her for not doing these things. Now, let's see the next stanza. So, you may remember that the alternative stanzas are in brackets, and these stanzas in brackets actually contains the girl's imaginations, which is detached from reality. Let's see the next stanza. I am an orphan roaming the street. I pattern soft dust with my hushed bare feet. The silence is golden, the freedom is sweet. So, in the previous stanza in which her imagination was detailed, there we find that she imagines herself as a mermaid. Over here in this stanza, now she imagines herself to be an orphan. Again, when she imagines herself to be an orphan, it is very clear that this girl wants to be all alone without anyone's disturbance. And now, what is this orphan in her imagination doing? She is roaming the street, she is walking around in the street. And what else? I pattern soft dust with my hushed bare feet. What else is this orphan doing? She is patterning the dust. Patterning the dust means to draw patterns in the soft dust. With what is she drawing the patterns? She is drawing the patterns with her hushed bare feet. Hushed here means silent. Silent bare feet. Why is her feet silent? Because she is not wearing any footwear. She is not wearing any slippers or shoes or anything like that. That is why her bare feet is silent, and with those silent feet, she is drawing a pattern in the dust. Now, why does she talk about bare feet over here? You just saw in the previous stanza that her mother was scolding her for not polishing her shoes. So she is imagining a life where she doesn't have to wear shoes, which in turn makes it possible for her to walk around without polishing her shoes. Now she is getting scolded for not polishing her shoes, isn't it? So she imagines a life where she doesn't have to do all these things. And then in the last line of this stanza, she says that the silence is golden, the freedom is sweet. So here she says that silence is golden and the freedom is so nice to enjoy. Because she says like this, because in her real life, she is not getting to enjoy silence, because there is always her mother on the other side who is nagging her, talking to her, scolding her, and also she doesn't want to hear all those things. She wants to be in a silent atmosphere. So that is why she says the silence is golden and the freedom is sweet. Again, in the real life, she is not at all free. She is often nagged for doing one or the other thing. Okay, so she feels that she hasn't any freedom. She has not got any freedom. So she says that the silence is golden and the freedom is sweet. She attaches a lot of value to the silence and the freedom that she imagines. Now, let's see the next stanza. Don't eat that chocolate, Amanda. Remember your acne, Amanda. Will you please look at me when I'm speaking to you, Amanda? So here again, we have a lot of restrictions or things to be followed. What is it? The first thing is don't eat that chocolate. She is being restricted from eating one or the other chocolate that she likes. Then remember your acne, Amanda. What is the meaning of acne? Acne is actually those pimples that one gets during their teenage, the pimples on the face. Okay, so that is acne. So her mother is reminding her of her acne. There are certain things that she shouldn't do so that her acne doesn't get worse. So her mother is reminding her about that. Remember your acne, Amanda. That means she shouldn't do certain things which would affect her acne badly. Again, there is restriction. And then the last one, will you please look at me when I'm speaking to you, Amanda? So this girl is not looking at her mother's face when her mother is saying all these things. What do you think is the reason? The reason is that she is not at all listening to her mother. Only when we listen to someone, we look at their face, isn't it? So she is not listening in the first place. She is in the dream world. So that is why she is not looking at her mother, and her mother finds fault with her for this. So that is what we see in this stanza. Now, obviously, one stanza we got her mother's instructions. In the next stanza, definitely it would be her imagination. Let's see. I am Rapunzel. I have not a care. Life in a tower is tranquil and rare. I'll certainly never let down my bright hair. So this time, she has finished imagining herself as a mermaid. She has finished imagining herself as an orphan. What is the next thing? She is imagining herself as the character named Rapunzel, the character in stories. You would know who Rapunzel is. Rapunzel was a little princess who was abducted from her family by a witch and who was kept in captivity by this witch in a tall tower where she was all alone. No one was allowed to go near her, and the only person who had access to her was this witch. And how did this witch get to this girl in the tall tower? This girl had to let down her long bright hair from the window. So she let it down, and the witch climbed with the help of this long hair. That is how this witch usually reached the tower. This is what we require in this poem now. Let's see. Here, the girl wishes to be like Rapunzel, all alone in the tower without anyone's disturbance. So she says that if she were like Rapunzel, she wouldn't have a care. She wouldn't have to care about anything. And then she says that life in a tower is tranquil and rare. She also says that if I got a chance to live in a tower like that, it would be tranquil. My life would be tranquil. Tranquil here means peaceful. She says that the life would be peaceful and it would be rare. It would, that kind of life would be something very rare. But she makes sure that she will certainly never let down her bright hair. If she were like Rapunzel, she would make sure that she would never let down her bright hair, because her bright hair was the only way through which someone could reach her. So she says that she just want to cut off from everything. She wouldn't leave her bright hair down so that no one will be able to reach her. This is what is told in that stanza. Now, moving on to the last stanza of the poem, again we see a lot of instructions. Stop that sulking at once, Amanda. You are always so moody, Amanda. Anyone would think that I nagged at you, Amanda. So, again we have her mother scolding her, and she asks her to stop sulking at once. So, what is the meaning of sulking? Sulking means complaining. Okay, so maybe Amanda gave her a complaining look. Maybe Amanda was unaware about it because she was not at all listening to her mother, but still there was that kind of look on her face, and that is why her mother says to stop sulking at once. And then she says, you are always so moody. She says that Amanda is very moody. Why is Amanda moody always? Because she is in her own dream world. That is why this girl is always moody. She says that you are always moody and anyone would think that I nagged at you. So the mother says that when people see you, they may think that I am nagging you. So please stop giving that look. So don't be so moody. So again, even in the last answer, we find that mother finds fault with her, the way she looks, the way she sits, the way she behaves. Her mother finds fault with each and everything that Amanda does, and this is what Amanda wants to escape from. So this is what the poem is all about, and you people would be able to relate it with your life too, because you are in that age where you find it difficult to adjust with the kind of things that your parents say. Now let's go through the literary devices used in this poem. First of all, we have anaphora. We have an example of anaphora in this poem. Anaphora is the repeated use of a word at the start of two or more lines. Then we have an example of metaphor. Metaphor is a poetic device in which a comparison is made between two things without the help of words like and as. That is what a metaphor is, and here we have an example of that. Then we have an example of alliteration. Alliteration is the occurrence of the same letter or sound at the beginning of adjacent or closely connected words. We also have an example of repetition. Repetition is the occurrence of a word, line, phrase or stanza in the poem over and over again. And here the name Amanda is repeated again. So we have an example of repetition. The next poetic device used in this poem is allusion. Allusion is an expression designed to call something to mind without mentioning it explicitly. It is an indirect or passing reference to something out of the context. So, with that, we have come to an end of this poem. Hope this video has been useful to you. If yes, please leave your valuable comments below in the comment box. If you feel this is useful, do share it to your friends who would need it. Please like the video and subscribe my channel. Don't forget to enable the bell icon so that you don't miss out on any of my latest uploads. So, till we meet in the next video with a new lesson, it's bye from me, Shimna. Bye.